Hello there, Eagles and football fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy podcast. My name is Basil.
And I'm Baz.
And we are recording Sunday, January 21st, 2024. And just a couple minutes, 10 minutes after the Chiefs defeated the Bills in the last divisional playoff game of the season, going on to the AFC Championship game next week against the Ravens. And we got the two championship games coming up on Sunday next week. Still waiting on the time for the Ravens and Chiefs, but I'm assuming 1 o'clock.
Yeah, it's going to be early.
Yeah, so good stuff going on there. A lot of fun football that happened today and yesterday, really, and we're going to talk about all of that. But as always, we want to jump into it and say our, fan club plug, as I like to call it. We are part of the Philadelphia Eagles fan club in Colorado Springs. We watch every Eagles game at Frankie's Bar and Grill on Powers and Galley here in Colorado Springs. If you're in the area, come on down and join us for the game. Would love to see you next season when we're back and we actually have guaranteed games throughout the season. But let's go ahead and jump on into it. First game of the weekend, Dad, was the Houston Texans taking on the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. What you got there?
It was a good game. I enjoyed it. You kind of knew Baltimore was going to win.
Yeah.
But it was, kind of close early for a little bit, but you could pretty much tell. They looked, Houston was a little bit overmatched. I was hoping for a better game, but I really didn't have any dogs in the race. I don't really dislike either team or like either team. So I didn't, some of these other games I was cheering for other foes, but I just wanted a good game. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed it. It was a good time, but the temperature was cold. There was snow on the ground, so that was kind of fun to watch. But they pretty much did everything they wanted to do. Now I did pick the final score 31-10, and then Baltimore kicked a meaningless field goal with 0 time left, maybe a minute left to ruin it. So it was 34-10 final, but I had picked 31-10.
So close. That's
awesome. We were
close.
close.
It's good.
You had 30-17. So
okay.
Also a very close pick.
Yeah. So this was we kind of expected this to be somewhat of a blowout game. I know early on it was a close game in a way. It did, like you said, it kind of ran away from Houston. The second half, they didn't score any points. Going into the half, it was tied, I believe, right? And it was 10-10, so pretty good game in the first half. The defenses both were really great early on, but then Baltimore, they made their adjustments.
And it wasn't a sloppy game. There wasn't a lot of turnovers or anything like that. But,
yeah, you're right.
It was just, a good game. But
a lot of sacks that game, right?
Yeah, they had some. Yeah, there was. It was. You could tell CJ just wasn't.
It wasn't there,
Yeah, but that just for Houston to get that far.
Oh my gosh!
And then to be competitive, really in the first half, shows you that they've got something going on there.
Yeah, it wasn't over till the fourth quarter. It wasn't out of reach. So congrats to Houston on a great season. And everyone wants to end it winning the Super Bowl, of course, but sometimes you do have to go, hey, that was way better than we expected, and that's good and everything. But they should hold their heads high. And D'Amico Ryans is a great coach. They got a great future there. That was the game I kind of least paid attention to. We were at the bar. My coworker was his last day with us that day, so we were all at the bar, and the game was on in front of me, but we were talking and laughing and drinking, So I was watching the whole game, but it was the game I paid least attention to. Let's go next to the game that I paid a lot of attention to.
Right.
Going over to NFC, got the Niners, who hosted the Green Bay Packers in a far better game than I ever expected.
Oh, for sure. And, that's the thing, and it kind of makes you question how good really were the 49ers? They're at home. They had the week off, and the Packers, I don't know, maybe it was the Packers, just their trajectory just continued to go up.
Yeah.
But they look great. Yeah. In my opinion, they should have won the game. They had their opportunities, but, they just kind of, you could see it. You could see the tide turn a little bit. But, there was one pass late in the fourth quarter where I forget how much time was left in the game, but Love kind of ran up in the pocket and looked like he was going to run for the first down. He had a guy right to the left. If he had hit him with that first down, they would have won that game because they would have kept control.
I saw that one. He kind of undershot it, went to the right. Yeah,
I was wide open. He was definitely going to get another 15 yards.
Oh, yeah. At least the first down. Yeah,
and I thought for sure I thought Love should have kept the ball and ran for a first down. But these guys, they don't listen to what I do.
Right? Yeah. They'd be all-stars if they did that.
But, good for them. The 49ers are where they should be. They're going to be playing next week. I was, cheering against them, but, it was a good game, and we had some nice comments on the podcast from some of the 49ers fans saying, they liked some of our analysis, which was kind of cool to hear. Like I said, we didn't, we weren't rallying them or anything like that. They got a great team. Of course, Debo going out early really hurt. I mean, those guys are dependent on 3 players, and if they're not in the game, they're in trouble. Sure. One's McCaffrey, one's Debo, and the other one would be Purdy. But, of course, he made it through the whole season this year. So. Yeah. But McCaffrey was a little banged up, and Debo didn't return, and he was out early in the first quarter.
I was so surprised. And then same with McCaffrey, he was on the sidelines. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, he just had the thigh thing, and they were rubbing it out. But he didn't look really that great. He did have that big touchdown.
That great touchdown. Oh gosh, yeah,
right up the
gut, broke 2 tackles.
And that was the tail of the game. The Niners had 2 big plays. Where the Packers were just kind of moving the ball on them. But, again, kudos to the Packers for, they found their good quarterback. Yeah. And I was telling you, I watched the Packers game probably mid-season, and I was watching that game going, man, Love is not good. Yeah. They are not. He's not a good quarterback. But he flipped the switch. He found something, and he sure looked great in the playoffs for one thing. Oh, yeah. But even the last month or 2 of the season, he looked phenomenal.
Yeah, it's another team, much like Houston. They kind of have to be happy with the season. I know it's a bummer the way it ends again. Let's just say Love had a great second half of the season, but that pass he threw at the end of the game to throw that pick was the worst pass of the season by any quarterback. That was a horrible – I can't believe he threw across – just the throw across body. What's the number 1 rule quarterbacks learn? I know, okay, it's probably not number 1, but still, you know what I mean? It's one of the early ones. So just a horrible throw, but yeah, you do have to be happy as a Packers fan how far you got this year.
You replaced Rodgers in one season, not even. So
yeah, it's true. It's true, and you almost won 2 playoff games out of it. You almost got the NFC Championship game the year after he left, with the youngest team. Ever win a playoff game, which is unbelievable. But, good for them. Good for the Niners, bad for us, whatever you want to say there. What was your score prediction for that one?
For that one, I had 24-14, so I had San Francisco 24, Packers 14.
Okay, you were close there. Was the touchdown off?
You had 37-17, so you were looking for the blowout.
I thought it was going to be a blowout.
I was close, but no cigars, so...
All right, let's go over to another NFC game from this early afternoon. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers went and visited the Detroit Lions up there in Michigan, and Detroit walked away with the win, 31-23. Pretty good game overall. Kind of the Chiefs-Bills game was the best game, but Lions-Bucks was also a very good game, back and forth for a while, come blow for blow, really good game going there. What you have to talk about there?
It's funny, now that's the third game we've talked about. In all the games, there were plays that I just wondered, what are these guys doing? I mean, I watch enough football, but Detroit should have never been close, really, in my opinion, in that game. Same with San Francisco. And tonight's game as well, but you just look at some of the play calling. What are you doing? Keep the clock running or get 5 yards on first down. Quit trying to get 20 yards on first down, But, it was good. It was exciting. I'm glad Detroit won. I was pulling for them a little bit, especially after Tampa Bay beat us last week and knocked us out. But, as the game went on, I went, you know what? They're pretty good. Tampa Bay was pretty good. Baker is pretty good.
Mike Evans he's
phenomenal.
Still a top 5 wide receiver.
And it always gets back to this. Just cover that guy.
Yeah, I know.
Again, right? I know
I'm
watching Evans. I'm watching Kelsey. I'm watching. Why is he wide open? I understand Paul Palmer or Billy Joe Johnson being wide open, but not Kelsey or Evans or whoever else was the big player.
Well, that's how I feel about a lot of we talk about the Niners players. Of course, they're open. There's 20 guys they're going to throw the ball to. Yes. Same with the Packers. What they were doing in the playoffs. There's all these young guys. They not really. I don't want to say no names because Christian Watson.
They made names.
They became names, and they're good. But it's just funny, that makes sense. Those guys are all open. But, dude, it blows your mind when you're like, Mike Evans is wide open. Yeah. You're like, that's the guy. I've said that term on here.
40 seconds left in the half. Where's Mike Evans? Oh, I don't know. You got him, don't you? Listen, wide open.
That's the guy.
He had 2 plays. There were 55 yards, I think, in the last 2 plays of the half. One got him to the 3-yard line for their touchdown to almost tie it up or whatever. But
good for Detroit to win that game. I'm happy for them, of course. We're rooting for them all the way, really. Yeah. Good for them to win. Back to back, they win their they win their first playoff game in the last 32 years, and then they win their second playoff game in the last 32. Right away, just so cool for them to go back to the NFC Championship game for the first time since they've been to the NFC Championship game.
So my score prediction, and that was way off. I had Detroit 35-10.
Okay.
You had 27. Detroit, Tampa Bay 13.
Yeah, wow.
Fairly close.
31-23.
I did predict 6 sacks for Detroit. I know they got some, but I don't think they got 6.
Let me pull that up right
They
here.
definitely had 3 or 4. I think Hudson
got
had a
back
couple
there.
But the 4. They had 4 sacks. But they were all. It's funny in that game.
Meaningful.
They were all unblocked blitzes.
Why is Hutchinson unblocked?
Unblocked.
That's the other thing.
Unblocked. I maybe it's a missed assignment. I'm like, okay, I'm the right tackle, and I got Hutchinson right outside my shoulder. Let's see, maybe I should get in front of him.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe that.
That's the same thing as the Mike Evans thing. We always, that's the guy. Same thing as, it's like when they block, and I'm not just saying the Niners because it happened earlier again this year, they block Hassan Reddick with a tight end. That's the guy.
Right.
You're going to put him, that's the guy.
Right.
Same with Aiden Hutchinson. Nick Bosa, that's the guy.
Yeah. Chip him at least.
I know. It's funny how it is. But good for Detroit. Happy to see them going on to the NFC Championship game. Next, we got tonight's game, the Chiefs and the Bills. The Chiefs visited the Bills up in Buffalo, and they won 27-24. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, it says it right here, set the record for most touchdowns by any QB and receiver duo in NFL postseason history. Right. Saw that one happen live. So
16.
Yeah, correct. Yep, 16.
Okay.
But, Dad, got a lot to say about this game. Let me preface it with this. I don't want to claim we're part of the media because that's dumb, but being in this situation where we do a podcast and we put our thoughts out there and we make predictions, we make projections, we say what we think will happen, we say what we want to happen, you're going to be wrong a lot, especially when you make it public. You can't go and say, well, I didn't say that. No, it's here. You said it.
I can prove it.
Yeah. It's sometimes you feel dumb. Like with the Packers thing, I would have said there's no way the Packers would beat the Cowboys, and then I was like, there's no way they beat the Niners. Right. They destroyed the Cowboys, and they should have. I know the word "should" is dumb. They didn't. They almost, and they probably should have beaten the Niners. It's hilarious, and it makes you feel dumb. You're like, man, I never would have thought that. I can't believe that. I'm so wrong. Well, then there's the opposite side of it.
Right.
This game tonight with the Chiefs and Bills that make you feel like a freaking genius. Because I watched the last quarter with you,
right?
And I said it downstairs. I wish I had recorded myself watching this game,
right?
Because I feel like a genius.
Yeah.
Because everything I said happened, and everything I said that they shouldn't do, they did.
Right. Like almost on play calls, you're like, okay, I can see that they're going to throw it to the left side. They're going to do that quick running back screen, which the Buffalo did it 100 times.
I felt like Tony Romo earlier in his podcast.
Yes, when he was good.
Where I was calling it. Yeah, when he was good. I was calling everything, and I was like, I can't believe they're making this so predictable. Yeah. This guy goes in motion. Why isn't anyone covering him? Right. He catches. He's wide open. It's it's 4th and 1. Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Why is that guy 18 yards off the wide receiver out there? I saw that 2 or 3 times today.
But yeah, it's funny because the Bills at the end of the game, they have the ball. They're driving. The clock's running off. It gets to the 2-minute warning. They're on the Chiefs side of the field, and I'm like, okay, man, they're starting to go. They get down to about the 30-yard line,
right?
And for some reason, and I said, okay, here's what you got to do. No matter what, the clock has to be running here. Right. So unless you're for sure can complete the pass, like the guy's
second down.
Yes, 2nd and 9. Unless you can for sure complete the pass, the guy's wide open. You run or you go down. You can't have the clock has to run here so that they waste their timeouts. Right. They only had 2 timeouts, the Chiefs and the Bills. They each had 2. And I'm like, you just can't stop the clock. They snap the ball. Stephon Diggs is across the middle, wide open. I said, he's wide open. He's going to throw it there. And he bombs it deep into the end zone. Right. Incomplete pass because he got hit. Horrible pass. Like, he got knocked, so, the pass was underthrown. And it stopped the clock. And I said, you can't stop the clock there. Right. And I'm like, okay, well, now it's 3rd and 9. You can't let the clock stop. It cannot be an incomplete pass. You either have to run it here and then just kick the field goal, or you got to you can't stop the clock. Well, then what happens? He runs out. He's scrambling. He throws it away. Stops the clock. And you have 2 timeouts. You don't need the clock to stop. You need it to run and waste their timeouts. Well, then they go to kick the field goal. And I'm just thinking, oh, my God, this coach the offensive coordinator, he's an idiot. Like, what if they missed the field goal? Snap.
Yep.
Missed field goal. I laughed. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how right I was. I was blown away. I wish I had recorded it. I'd make it its own episode.
Well, we were pulling for Buffalo.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously. Kansas City's been good for years. Looked good for them. They beat us in the Super Bowl last year. We were hoping to get a little revenge inside by having them lose finally to Buffalo. And, Buffalo had every reason to win that game, every chance they wanted. I don't understand why first of all, they hadn't had a play in the game over 20 yards. Maybe one, but I don't think I had a game about over 20 yards. So then he throws it 30 yards into the end zone for no reason at all. Plus, you scored. There's still a minute and a half. Didn't you learn anything a couple years ago? You should have been going and getting 5 yards a chunk, getting first downs, and if anything, kicking a 26-yard field goal from the 8 yard line.
They kicked a 44-yard, right?
Right, in the rain and the wind and the cold. Not the rain, but the cold and the wind. It was 20-some degrees, but it was just – once he missed the field goal, I went, I'm done pulling for the Bills.
Yeah, so like you said.
I've been pulling for them for years.
Yeah. We said it earlier this season after we beat them. Now I'm happy we beat them more than ever. But we said earlier this year after we beat them, there was some comments from Bills fans in the comments section talking about it, and they were like, "Yeah, good luck to you guys." I have no hate for the Eagles, and I'm like, "Yeah, no, I cheer for the Bills. They're AFC, good for them.
Right.
I wish nothing but greatness for their fans, but." Now I will never cheer for them again until they play the Chiefs next time.
I was saying that the window was closing before the season started. Now the window is closed. It's going to be a mass exodus of players that have the opportunity to leave. Because they blew it.
Diggs almost didn't come back this season. I can't imagine there's a chance he comes back next season.
Right.
And you were right. There was no play over 15 yards, over 20 yards for them. No. They had a 15-yard pass at the long, and they had a 18-yard run for the long. So
why would you throw the ball? Why would you even try to score a touchdown there? It should have been 5 and across the middle. I think Stoners. Plus, they had that fumble out of the end zone by the Chiefs, which saved the game and gave them a chance.
I think you definitely go for the touchdown on that drive. Sure. I'm not saying on that play, but you definitely go for the touchdown on that drive. But the most important thing in that drive is not to score a touchdown. It's to make them waste their timeouts. We've seen what the Chiefs can do.
Yes.
If you need to go for the tie on 4th down, you go for the tie. That's fine. Yes, but the most important thing at that point in the game is not to score. It's to make Andy Reid waste his timeouts. Exactly. And he walked away with 2 still in his pocket at the end of the game.
Left. Yeah. It was the exact opposite thing of what you should have done. I know they replaced their offensive coordinator midway through the season and brought in Joe Brady, but it's just a shame. And I don't feel bad for the coaches. I feel bad for the fans.
Oh, I do. Yeah,
that's just we're fans. We know what it's like to lose. I didn't eat last week after we lost. I was just kind of mad, and I had a bad Tuesday and a bad Wednesday. But I finally got over it. But these guys, at least we have the fact that we've won in the last few years. These guys have never even been to won a Super Bowl in the last 30 years.
They've never won one.
They've been to some, but
since they lost 4 in a row.
And here they were, building and building and going up, getting better. And they got this great quarterback who makes great plays.
Yeah.
And then they just go do that. And I don't know if he's not calling the plays. Obviously, someone else is, but it was just it's a film that you get to show a quarterback in a couple of years and say, don't do that. Exactly.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
We've done it. The Eagles have done it this year too.
Oh, gosh, yeah. It's funny because we always say that. I always say, I don't know if I've said it on here. There's 2 ways to never cheer for a team again. For me personally, there's 2 ways. Say you cheer for a team, they're not your team.
Right.
You cheer for another team. Oh, good for them. I want them to. Yeah, if I don't win it, I want them to win it. There's 2 ways to stop cheering for them. Number 1, they become a dynasty. That's how I was with the Chiefs. When they went to the Super Bowl against the Niners, I was cheering for them because Andy Reid was there. I had still liked Patrick Mahomes at that time. Sure. I cheered for them. I was like, I want them to win. And then they won. And I was like, cool, that's great, Right. Then they went back the next year and they lost to the Bucks. And I was like, great. Then they beat us and it's like, okay, now I really hate these guys. But then there's one other way to stop rooting for a team, and it's when they become a catalyst for another team's success.
Right.
That's how I feel about the Falcons, because in 2016 they lost to Tom Brady after leading 28-3 in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Because of that, I will never, ever cheer for the Falcons again. I hate the Falcons. Unless they're playing against Dallas. Okay, I'm sorry. But I hate them. I can't imagine cheering for them on a normal game that's not playing a rival.
I get you.
The Seahawks. Back in 2013, they won the Super Bowl. I was happy for them. 2014, they went back to play against Brady. I was cheering my butt off for them.
Same here.
Then they threw the ball on the 1-yard line on 3rd down, and I will never, I will never cheer for them again. I will never support them. I will never forgive them again.
Right.
Go back to 2000.
Yes.
2001. Sorry.
When 2001 season.
Back when the Patriots still had not won a Super Bowl.
Right. They've been in some, but
and you were cheering for them
against the Raiders in that
playoff game.
The snow game.
We'll just call it the Tom Brady Tuck Rule game.
The Tuck Rule. Yes.
The Tuck Rule game.
Yes.
He was cheering. I was 3, so I wasn't there.
I was cheering for Brady.
He was cheering for Brady
and the Patriots.
Yeah.
And then they won the Super Bowl. Of course, when they won, I was always cheering for the NFC teams because I liked the Panthers at the time. I liked the Rams at the time. But it's funny because then they became a dynasty, and then I hated them. I don't want them to win. I want somebody else to win.
And now you still continue to hate the Raiders because of that.
Well, they beat us in the Super Bowl 15. So Super Bowl 15.
Yeah, 1980. That's great.
I still don't like them.
I don't. Here's the thing.
Fan.
I know I've gotten in arguments with people in the comment section. We've got more championships. Okay, back in 97. I wasn't born yet. Right. And I know they're like, wow, you don't care about history. Well, no, but here's the thing. You have to count all of history or you get to count none of history. Right. That's how it is. You don't get to pick and choose the Super Bowls. No, it's championships.
Right.
If it's not all championships, then it's none at all.
Right.
We wipe the slate clean at the new millennium. Yeah. You don't get to go, well, we've won 5. Okay, we've won 4 championships, so wow, you got one more than us. No, you only have 1. Are we counting all of them, or are we counting none of them? Yeah. And it's true. It ends at the millennium. I know it's my rule, and no one's going to listen to my rule, but I just can't stand that.
Well, I think it's a 20, 25-year rule. If you haven't won in 20, 25 years, then you should kind of just take your belts and put them in the closet for a few days.
All right, you got anything else to say aside from that? Just
I enjoyed watching the games. Of course, I try not to get too involved, but that game tonight really it bothered me because Buffalo. I started midway through the game. I was pulling for Buffalo. I thought that would have been a great story and fun, knock the Chiefs out. But I looked, and I said at one point, they had not stopped the Chiefs the entire game. Yeah. Now the Chiefs had all the big plays. Yes. Buffalo had these long grind drives and score, and then the Chiefs would score in 3 plays, and you're like, you can't win a game like that. You just can't do it. And it caught up to them. It just caught up to. It's a shame because they had every opportunity to continue to drive that ball, get it close, tie it up with no time left, maybe go into OT. But no, they blew it. They missed a field goal. But that field goal should not have been a 45-yarder. It should have been a 21-yarder.
If they even kicked it at all. But exactly. Let me ask you this before we move on. Sean McDermott, he's got to be fired, right?
I don't know. I mean, he's –
because I'm with you on my belief, the
window being closed.
It's funny because I said something will make us look stupid or smart. Maybe it'll make us look stupid, but I believe the window is closed. I believe they had a long window there with Josh Allen. And I think with how their season went, where they were at one point not doing so great, they were out of the playoff hunt.
They lost to us in that overtime game, and they went on a run 6 straight.
We went this way, but they won 6 of the last 7. We lost 6 of our last 7.
Right. So something happened there, but it kind of kicked their butt in a gear, and it was exciting to watch that at the end of the year because again I was cheering for them, and then when they finally, it's funny how they ended up being not so good, and then they ended up getting the home field advantage. Yeah, so you thought, okay, here's Mahomes' first away game, and he still ends up winning. So,
it's funny how they could have that. That's the thing. That's why I believe the window's closed. You have that rough season to start, then you go on a run, and you're like, oh, here it is. It's all here in front of us. It's history. It's laid out in front of us, and then they to just lose it the way you did. Not like if they lost in a normal game,
right?
But to lose it where you have the control.
Right.
To me, there's nothing worse than losing when you have the control. If the other team misses the field goal, or if the other team makes the field goal to walk it off to win, you don't feel as much. It sucks,
you didn't stop.
But you didn't stop.
You stopped yourself.
Yes, yeah. But that's the thing. The Bills the other team didn't stop them. They forcibly stopped themselves.
Yeah, a little bit of trivia there was Travis Kelce had 2 touchdowns, and he had not scored a touchdown since the Eagles-Buffalo game back in whenever that was.
Chiefs game. The Eagles.
I'm sorry, Chiefs game.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. He scored 2 touchdowns tonight, and they were saying he hadn't scored a touchdown like 5 weeks, 6 weeks. I'm like,
what?
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, he had not scored a touchdown since when we played them, which was a while ago. I mean,
which I know we talked about it last week, but he didn't break the 1,000-yard mark, which is insane considering how bad all the other receivers have been.
Right.
You'd think they'd be feeding him. Yeah. And now I do think he missed maybe a game. I might be wrong there, but he got injured at one point. Right. But it's incredible that he didn't.
And they also talked about him saying, the team looked old, looked bad, or mid-season they kind of hit a big dip and they weren't playing that well. And then to turn it around like they do. But, again, they were one of those teams that get in the playoffs, baby, and just start your run.
Yeah, he missed 2 games, and we said it last week. The regular season, it's funny. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's that's the Packers. Yeah. They go 9-8. Well, it doesn't matter. They got to the divisional round, almost to the NFC Championship game.
The Chiefs playoff game and get you going.
The Chiefs had a pretty. I mean, it's funny because they're the 3 seed, but in terms of their standard, they had a pretty terrible season.
Right.
All the drops, the teams they lost to. It was kind of mind blowing. And then it's just hilarious. It doesn't matter. Once you get there, it doesn't matter. It's all gone.
Yeah, most likely they're going to win next week. We haven't gotten there yet, but
yeah, I mean,
it just looks to me like somebody's got to stop them. Now Baltimore's a great D.
Yeah,
we'll get into that later. But
let me just say this: I won't bet on money line or the spread. Gotcha. I won't bet on that. I'll bet on player props, right, but I will not bet on the Ravens to win that game. Not a chance. Let's just go ahead and jump into next week, actually. That was the next thing. So we got the Chiefs. They're going to be going to Baltimore to play the Ravens. Looking like it'd be a pretty good game. I know. Oh, and it's finally been listed as the 1 o'clock game. Oh, wow. And, so, pretty good game. Spread right now is listed at 3 with the favorite towards Baltimore.
Sure, that's the home team.
Yeah, that makes sense. You give the home 3 usually.
Well, and not just that, but in the divisional round.
Or in the NFC Championship.
If you look at that, the NFC AFC Championship game, the odds are always for the
home team. Usually,
it just happens.
It's the Eagles of 2017.
Yeah,
but we don't have to get.
There's been some, but overall, the odds are probably 85, something like that percent. So,
so that looks like it'd be a good game, like you mentioned. Baltimore does have a really great defense, so we'll see what they can do. They always have a great defense. It's so funny how they are. They always have that really good just defensive backfield and linebackers and everything, but. Yeah, so that could be a really good game. Lions, Niners, I don't have too much expectation for the Lions to win that game.
No, especially after today. They should have pounded, and they did.
And I really think it's funny because it's funny how teams are, like, as far as, like, seeding doesn't really matter. It's matchups that really matter. The Packers just matched up incredibly well against the Cowboys. I think the Packers matched up the best against the Niners. I don't think the Lions match up that well against the Niners.
Right.
I really don't. So we'll do our predictions later this week. But
yeah, it's funny because they kept saying how Detroit's rush defense was great, and they were getting run over by Tampa Bay, who's was like 28th or something rushing in the league.
That's true. I think they were 32nd.
Yeah, they weren't good, but they did good last week against us. But this week they did really well.
So good games coming up next Sunday. In other news, we'll talk about just some Eagles stuff now to move off. So all you NFL fans who aren't Eagles fans, I guess you can turn it off now.
No, don't turn it off.
Looks like Sirianni's going to be staying. That seems to be the word around the block from an inside source on the of the Eagles. It sounds like Sirianni will be staying as long as he's firing the coordinators, which, thank God.
It's already been done, right?
Well, that's what I was going to say. The next thing is they fired Sean Desai today. It's kind of funny, though, because he was kind of fired earlier this year. So it's, they're like, oh, he's officially been fired. Well, he was kind of fired after the Dallas game, unfortunately.
He'll probably get a head coach job now after
after our defense was
10 times worse after he got.
I know, he proved our defense was like
demoted.
Was operational when he was playing. Then it flew off the rails when Patricia came in.
No kidding.
Brian Johnson, he's not gone yet, but they're probably going to be waiting out because he's doing interviews for head coaching right now for, I think, Atlanta, and he did Carolina. Right. Did he do Atlanta? So Carolina, Atlanta.
They're getting a lot of pub from a Michigan coach.
So they're interviewing everybody, which makes sense.
True.
They're only a piece or two away, man. They got to get a quarterback. They got great tight end, good wide receivers. But we'll see. Great running back. So, yeah, he's not gone yet, but I'm assuming they're waiting for his interviews because if he does get hired on as a head coach, we get 2 compensatory picks for him.
Okay.
So why fire him when we could get picks for him? Obviously, it wouldn't be this year's draft; it'd be next year.
Gotcha.
And then Matt Patricia is still not gone as well. I don't know how we're waiting so long.
He's some consultant again. Didn't he bring him as a consultant?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why we're waiting so long.
Yeah,
it's a bummer. Thoughts on Sirianni coming back, Dad?
I talked about it last week. I was
holding
for him.
Think he would be fired?
I did not think he was going to be fired. Then I came to you a few days ago and I said he's got to go. I listened to Peter King and Miles. I forget his name. That do the Peter King podcast, and he laid out like 10 reasons why he should be fired. I don't know if it was 10, but basically it was he lost the team. The team is lost. He lost them in the locker room. He's got nothing going on. So he said, I think he should. He kind of held out for McCarthy to stay on as the Cowboys coach, but he's like, the Eagles got to get rid of Sirianni. Yeah. So that was just Peter King's opinion. And after listening to that podcast, I kind of came to the same conclusion. Yeah. If we got him, I mean, obviously we things have to change big time. So
yeah, it's hard because last week, I came on here and I said he should be, and I want to clarify, I don't hate Nick Sirianni. I don't want him to be fired. I wish he could stay on because I do think he's a good coach. I just don't know how you recover from this is what I want to say. I just don't know as a coach, how do you recover from what happened in those last 7 weeks?
And why did it happen?
True, yes.
That's the whole major question. Why? How does a team go from that to that? I know a piece of it is we got old. We're old and got older. The young guys were not holding up their bargain. They were getting tired or played too many snaps or something. Yeah. So there's 2 things there. Then, of course, our wide receivers were still pretty awesome. And Jalen regressed, as we all know. So we know we need some sort of quarterback coach, guru, psychologist, therapist, something to help, get him on the couch and figure out what went wrong. But, when you change coaches, usually you're down for another couple of years. So.
Yes. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. I do like Nick Sirianni. I think he should be fired after 3 years of going to the playoffs? No. But just the way it happened, I just don't know if you can come back. I just don't know if you can come back from that. How do you win over a locker room again after all that? That's my question, and that's why I don't think he should be back, but I don't want to get too much into that. But other than that, you got anything else about the Eagles or about football? I'm about to jump into over some other sports. So
not really, no. Just looking forward to some good games next week.
Yep. Okay, gotcha. In other sports, Sixers, they're 28-13. They're playing the Spurs tomorrow, which will be cool. They're playing in Philly, and that's the first game they're playing against Wembanyama, the rookie kid. I'm sure you've heard of his name. Not a big basketball guy, so I feel him in all. Okay, gotcha.
He's on all the billboards.
Yeah, right. So this is the first time they'll be playing him, so Embiid and Wembanyama. I think it's a televised game. I don't know for sure. I'm hoping it is because it's at 5 o'clock our time, and I get off work at 4 o'clock, so it is on NBA TV. Okay, cool. So it should be nationally televised, so I'd like to get a chance to watch that game. And they're coming to Denver, the Sixers. They're coming to Denver on Saturday. I am going to be up in Denver hanging out with my friend who just moved up there, the coworker I mentioned earlier, and some of his friends and our buddies from our fantasy football group and everything. I'm wondering, we can check the prices, while we're closer to the game, maybe get some cheap tickets or something like that to get in last second. We'll see. I'm thinking maybe we can go downtown and watch it at a bar nearby to try to get tickets last second. We'll see. So I'll be going to Denver. So I'll be in the same vicinity as all the Sixers player, which is cool. And hopefully they can get a win there because we beat them a few weeks ago, or not even a few weeks ago, 10 days ago, or 4 days ago. My gosh.
Right. No, I remember you talking about it.
Yeah. 5 days ago. My gosh. We beat them in a really great game. I talked about it in the last podcast. So hopefully we get another great game and another win, especially being in Denver. It'd be really nice to be wearing a Sixers shirt downtown there. Flyers, they lost today. They were up 2-0, so that was a bummer to lose. Kind of a bad let them get back into the game and lost that one. They lost back-to-back games. They lost to the Avs yesterday, the Colorado Avalanche. Earlier this year, they beat them in Denver. They destroyed them, and then they got destroyed in Philly, like 7-4, I think. So, yeah, my brother-in-law texted me, but I was at work, so I couldn't watch any of it. But it was on, and he's like, hey, it's on NHL TV. So I could have watched it, but I was at work, so I couldn't do that. But anything else on some other sports or any last thoughts you got, Dad? maybe
No,
next
not
week's
really.
game.
No, just keep the comments coming. We finally did pass our 100 subs, so
Yeah.
we've got over 100 subscribers. So that was kind of an exciting thing for us. But
Yeah.
now it's on to 200, buddy.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's
That's
keep going.
Keep on pushing. Yep. All right. Well, then we'll go ahead and say our goodbyes here. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. If you like our Eagles Therapy podcast, do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, like he said, please like and subscribe down below. Please leave us some comments. We always comment back. We always thank you for commenting, even if you're from another team talking smack.
Yeah.
If you're a team that played this weekend, let us know your thoughts about your game, if you won or if you lost or something like that, and how you feel about next week's game. And we'll ask for predictions
Hope we
next
didn't
month.
offend anyone.
Yeah, right. You can email us any questions at oureaglestherapy@gmail.com. But other than that, from all of us here at Our Eagles Therapy Podcast, my name is Basil.
And I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
And fly, Eagles, fly.